Hey guys, I'm JV, and this is my channel, Wasting Gas. I'm inside a Triple Vet today, and I just wanted to make a quick video and talk about something that I get a lot of questions about, specifically usually when I'm like at the gas pump. People always want to come talk to me about the car and ask me about the car. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's got a bunch of stuff all over it and it's crazy looking. Anyway, so yeah, one of the biggest questions that I always get about the car are things like fuel mileage and what's it like to drive with such a big cam, and what's it like, you know, in drivability and out on the roads, and is it a pain, and blah, blah, blah. So, certainly there are modifications that you can do to your car that can ruin the car. For sure, it definitely... back in the days, people used to, I guess people still might, cut springs and whatnot, and all kinds of things. Suspension, I think, is probably one of the easiest ways to ruin a car. Messing around with suspension, especially when you use cheap parts or parts that weren't designed or, didn't have any real engineering behind them. It's so easy to ruin a car with bad suspension or a bad alignment or something like that. But yeah, back in the day, some things you didn't really have a choice on. But the things that I've done to my car, not that bad. Honestly, it's really not that bad. For a recap, for those of you that maybe haven't seen some of my other videos where I talk about some of the things I've got done to the car currently has a set of WCCH Stage 2 heads with a port and polish, bronze valve guides, all that kind of good stuff on the inside, big boy springs and good valves, all the good stuff. I don't know the details right now. I'd have to find my receipt for everything. But it's also running a BTR Stage 3 cam. That's the big brunt of my modifications. I also have stainless steel brake lines, and I run normally I run 2 sets of pad, 1 set for the street, 1 set for the track. Lately though, I've just kind of left my track pads in for a long while, because I've been doing track things on and off, and so it has kind of just been not worth it to me to swap them back out. But I'm starting to really hate that decision. Yeah, I get the question all the time about the car and what it's like to drive and this and that. And the reality is this car is not that bad. The modifications that I made, yes, the cam is pretty big. It's certainly not huge, but it is big enough that there's a difference. I had an LS2 C6 way back in the day, and that one was cammed also. That one, I think I had the K-Tech Torquer cam, maybe, I believe, could be. And that was a much, much milder cam than what I'm running now. It had a great idle, amazing top end pull. I mean, that thing was incredible. It screamed up top. But its actual drivability was near stock. It really didn't change anything. This cam definitely made some changes. Now, this cam's also making a good bit more power than what that cam before used to make. So it's definitely more aggressive. Still so much fun. But I do suffer some drivability issues. For example, my fuel mileage definitely went way the hell down. Yeah, huge difference there. I think like more of that though is due to the larger injectors than necessarily just the cam. But definitely big difference there. This car used to routinely get between 30 and 34 miles a gallon out on the highway. Like if I drove it to Florida and whatnot, things like that, long hauls, I could easily get it up over 30, 34 miles a gallon. And there's a little kid right now freaking out when I take pictures of the car. That's pretty awesome. I'm sitting in traffic because that's all we do in Northern Virginia, is sit in traffic. And I don't know when I'm going to release this video, but it's Saturday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's tons of traffic. That's my life. Anyways, so I used to do 30, 34 miles a gallon on the highway. I mean, this car was incredible for long highway drives, put it in 6th gear, 70, 75 miles an hour, and this thing would just loaf on down the road. It was pretty incredible. It just like 1400 RPM or some crap like that, and it would just down the road, sipping on fuel. I could drive from my home in Northern Virginia down to Orlando, Kissimmee area, and if I started with a full tank of gas, I would fill up once, and I would get to Orlando needing fuel, but I would stop once. That's all I needed to stop. I needed to stop more often. The car could keep going. But yeah, dude, it just got amazing gas mileage. In the city, 20, 25 miles a gallon, 24, 25 miles a gallon. It would pretty easily, routinely get, just drive around town, mix of highway and city driving. On the track, I would do 6 to 7 miles per gallon. This was back when stock. Since the cam, since the head, since the bigger injectors, I average now between 15 and 18. I think right now I'm doing 18 miles a gallon, and I basically cruised on the highway the whole way this morning. I filled it up this morning, reset all my stuff. So this has got 30 miles of cruising on the highway and 10, 15 miles of back and forth traffic. And I'm doing about 18 miles a gallon. So I'm averaging between 15 and 18 miles a gallon driving around town. A week or two ago, I drove it basically just like complete full city, just around local, close to my home, without taking any interstate trips. And I think I was like at 12 miles a gallon, something like that. So yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Out on the track, I'm getting between 4 and 6 miles a gallon. And on the highway, during one lap, I think I averaged like 24 miles a gallon. But honestly, the last trip that I took up to Ocean City, Maryland, where I had some pretty decent cruising going there, I was down like 20, 21 miles a gallon. So definitely a substantial difference in fuel mileage. Now, all that said, the reality is I didn't buy this thing, and I certainly didn't put a freaking cam in it and heads, and I don't race it caring about fuel mileage. Like, come on, guys. Let's be serious here. These bald eagles don't care about no damn fuel mileage. We'll just take over some other oil country. It'll be all right. Yeah, fuel mileage definitely big, huge difference going to a bigger cam, bigger injectors, all that kind of good stuff, like you would imagine. Again, if you're counting pennies on fuel, a 7-liter V8 with heads and a cam, not where you want to be. Don't do it. The other question I get asked about all the time is, what's the drivability like? And on this one, I also have, I'm not going to say issues, but there's been a big difference. So back on the stock cam, the car would do, it cruised effortlessly. It has so much torque. It was incredible. It would just cruise so effortlessly. I could basically never go above 1500 RPM and be perfectly comfortable in the car. It could do it all. And the little kid over there freaking out in the car. That's awesome. Anyway, yeah, so I could cruise around like 1500 RPM and just never even, it just didn't matter. The car would just lug around. I could shift 1500 RPM and keep up with plenty of traffic and do everything, and it would be fine. No issues whatsoever. Now, yeah, if this car's below 2000 RPM and not accelerating through, that's no go. That's no bueno. That no work. Daddy no likey. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. It's not that bad. It's pretty bad though. So it's got a good bit of surging. It's tough to drive. It'll buck and stutter, and you can see it now as I'm putzing around through the traffic. Ooh, Tesla Model X, very nice. Me Reiki. So yeah, it's got a good bit of surging. It's definitely there. It's definitely noticeable. A lot of that is in the tuning. There are people that say they have this cam, they run this cam, and they have zero surging. I don't know how much I quite believe that, because most of the people that I've talked to that have this cam have some surging. I don't think my surging is horrible, but it's definitely noticeable. It definitely exists. I don't know. That's really a lot of that has to do with the tuning, and some of it just has to do with the fact that it's a giant cam and giant injectors. Like, what do you want? The tune has not let me down in any other way. Has been phenomenal. So I'm definitely not going to blame the tune. I'm just going to say it's a giant cam, the giant injectors, and that's what happens. But it gets a little bit of surging. So basically on the highway, I need to be a little more careful is where it manifests itself the most. It's pretty easy to stay up above 2,000 RPM driving around on the streets. Once you're out on the highway and you're trying to cruise is really where the issue comes in. You got to pay attention and make sure you're up above that 2 grand, which kind of sucks because when you're cruising at 2 grand is about 70 miles an hour, give or take. And yeah, it's a pain. So most places, you know, speed limits aren't that high. They're 55, 60, 65, at least here in my area, which means it's tougher to get up to those speeds. Now, 70, 75 miles an hour is usually pretty safe to go around here, but there's also usually traffic, which makes it difficult again. So yeah, it's just kind of a pain. I'm constantly between 6th and 5th, 6th and 5th, 6th and 5th if I'm trying to cruise on the highway, you know, at highway speeds. Other than that, you know, honestly, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Just live with it. Like, it's choices. I didn't do this to be comfortable and whatnot. Like, it's kind of no duh. But yeah, anyway. So really the biggest difference is just you have to have a little more fun with the car, if that makes sense. You just got to rev it out a little bit more, which probably hurts the fuel mileage a little bit more. So you know, some contributing factors and whatnot. But to me, it's worth it. This thing's a beast. It held up through 1 lap. It held up through all the abuse that I put it through. The motor has. The AC and some of the electronics sure haven't. The motor has held up just fine though. It's been pretty great. Yeah, it's really not that big of a deal. I've been daily driving the car now for, I don't know, about 3 weeks. After the latest swap out with my BCM and some AC issues that I've been having, and I'm trying to basically kind of put miles on it and see if it happens again, try and catch the issue again. So I've been driving it quite a bit lately, and after all these miles of daily driving it, really the only issues that I've found are, well, it burns a lot of gas, but the channel's name is wasting gas, so I really don't care. I don't know. Maybe you care. I don't care. Gas, who cares? Anyways, so yeah, that's what it's like to live with a big cam Z06, kind of, you know, whatever. It's no biggie. It's a lot of fun. The car more than makes up for its downfalls out on the track and having fun and enjoying it, and the looks and the photos and all the stuff that this thing gets. But anyways, yeah, so make sure you comment. Do you have a big cam? Do you have a car that's modified? Have you modified your car beyond the point that was practical, beyond the point that made the car any fun, where now you just hated the car so much you had to get rid of it? I know several people that have gone down those roads. So yeah, make sure you comment below, say that. Hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on Facebook. That stuff will be somewhere around. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you watch all my other videos. Give it a big thumbs up. And I will see you guys next time. Peace out.